This videotape will help you learn how to plan the various aspects of your wedding. It contains valuable consumer information designed to acquaint you with terminology used by retail businesses that serve the bridal industry. Planning is the key word. And now industry experts will tell you the options open to you. Plus, later in this tape, you'll see a presentation of the latest bridal fashions ranging from the simple to the elegant designer.
Therefore, different factors that influence the price of a diamond.
There are many ways that the tuxedos can be coordinated with the colors used within the bridal party.
Special ordering means you just speed up the service. Most stores have that.
The style of wedding party that you've planned will affect the types of flowers that you choose.
Thermography is less expensive than engraving, and it has come to a state of the art now where it's practically indistinguishable from something that was copperplate engraved.
So the important thing to remember is as soon as you've set your date to start looking for your photographer.
Congratulations on your engagement. It's time to start planning your ceremony and reception details. As soon as possible, you should set the date of your wedding and reserve the location of your ceremony and reception. Start your guest list, budget how much you can spend, and who will pay for what. Then, order your engagement and wedding rings.
Where a couple should purchase a diamond, I think, is a very important question. The reason is that it's the first step that they're taking in their engagement and in their wedding plans. I think the best thing to do is shop for a jewelry store that has been in business for a number of years, that has a very good reputation, and that perhaps offers you a finance plan or some way of extending your payments over a period of time. Okay, therefore, different factors that influence the price of a diamond. The factors that influence the price are the cut, the clarity, the color, and the carat weight of the stone. And I'll speak a little bit about each of those factors. The cut of the stone is the shape of the stone. There are many different types of cuts that one can purchase. There are round stones, there are marquise-shaped stones, emerald cuts, and pear shapes. The best value to be found in a diamond is always in a round diamond. The clarity of the stone is the other factor that is very important. The clarity is another designation that is prescribed by the GIA, the Gemological Institute of America. And a flawless stone is the standard of comparison there. A flawless stone would not have any imperfections or inclusions if you would look into the stone under 10-power magnification. From flawless, it goes to VVS, which is very, very slightly included, VS, which is very slightly included, SI, which is slightly imperfect, and then I, which is imperfect stones. And there are subdivisions in each of those categories. So you want to get a stone that is as close to flawless or as perfect a stone as you can find. Another factor that influences the price of the diamond is the color of the diamond. Color and clarity are two things that go hand in hand. The color of the stone is rated on a scale that is prescribed by the GIA, or the Gemological Institute of America. The color is a letter designation. The color grade starts at the alphabetical letter D, which is a nearly colorless or blue-white stone, and goes to the end of the alphabet, which of course would be a very dark stone. The closer to the color grade D that you can come in purchasing a diamond is really what you truly want to do. So something in the GH color range is a very beautiful, very white diamond. The last factor that influences the price of a diamond is the carat weight. Carat weight is a designation of points. There are 100 points in a carat. So 50 points would be half a carat, 35 points would be a third of a carat, and so on. You usually want to get a diamond that is basically as large as you can afford, but has the color and clarity and standards that you want and that fits into your price range.
There is a wide price range to choose from, but you must determine how much you can spend.
The price of a diamond and how much you will spend on it varies from person to person, obviously. A good criterion, a good standard to go by which is stated by De Beers, the people that are in control of the diamond mines in Africa. They have a promotional service that recommends to people that they spend 2 months of their collective salary on their diamond purchase. Something else that is important when you're purchasing a diamond is to make sure that you get a certificate of appraisal from the company from which you purchase your diamonds. A certificate of appraisal will state the price of the diamond and also such factors as color and clarity and the other things that we've discussed already. And what it really is a guarantee as to what merchandise you've bought. The first set that I've brought to show you today is a traditional diamond engagement set. It consists of a diamond engagement ring with a large center stone and some small diamond accents on the engagement ring. This is what the bride-to-be will wear for a number of months until she's married. And then, of course, the wedding band that fits beautifully right next to it. And after one is married, many times the brides come in and have these two pieces soldered together so they can be worn as one ring. That's a very beautiful look, a custom design. Another very traditional option is a diamond solitaire. A diamond solitaire is simply a diamond of any size mounted on a 4 or 6 prong yellow or white gold band. And usually a woman will wear a very simple yellow gold band next to that. And finally, the last thing that I've brought today is a set of 14-karat yellow gold matching wedding bands, ladies and mans. And this is a very beautiful look that many couples choose because they want something that matches. This is the gentleman's band, an endless circle of love in 14-karat gold, and the matching ladies. And it's very, very attractive, and that's a very popular item for most people. They like that very much. There are other jewelry purchases that a couple often makes at the time of their wedding. Some of those things include wedding bands for the gentleman and for the bride, and also many times a gift of pearls is very appropriate for the bride-to-be. And then, of course, you have gifts for the groomsmen and for the bridesmaids.
A couple should reserve their photographer as soon as they have set the date for their wedding. It's very important to reserve that photographer right away because it is not uncommon that even a year ahead of time for a specific date, that photographer could already be booked. The photographer that you choose should be someone that you'd want to invite to your own wedding. There are a lot of photographers out there with many different packages and prices. To select that photographer, you'll need to know the price range that you want to work with. You'll find some photographers who are going to be very expensive, ranging into the thousands of dollars. You're paying for 1, their experience, 2, their style, and you're also paying for overhead. And a lot of them will have very fancy studios, and there's nothing wrong with that. You need to select that photographer on the budget that you have. If you can afford a photographer that will cost you thousands of dollars, that's fine. But if you are limited to a few $100s, then you'll have to be more selective. And there are other places that you can look for photographers, such as your college, even your college newspapers. Freelance photographers are not a bad investment. The main thing that you must understand is that how many weddings have they done in the past? Do you like their work? And what is the bottom line as far as your reorder? I would recommend that the wedding photographs be taken before the ceremony. Everybody is all fresh, their dresses are neat, the tuxes are pressed, and you're going to get very good and sharp photographs. If you wait until after the ceremony, you now have dresses that have been crumpled, you have flowers that might have started to wilt, you have mothers who have been crying, you have brides who have been crying. Another thing that you should look out for with the photographer is how long does it take to get the photographs back. Some photographers will have them back to you within 1 or 2 weeks. Other photographers will take as long as 90 days just to get the original proofs back. Once you've gotten your proofs back and you're ready to reorder, normally what you can look for the studio is at least 5 days for each size photograph that you have ordered. That means if you have ordered a 4x5, that is going to take at least 5 days. If you also have an 8x10 in there, that will be another 5 days, and so on.
The wedding date is getting closer, and there is still a lot to do. Don't panic. Just keep planning and make a checklist of things that still need to be done. Many bridal stores have free checklists. Just ask for one when you visit the store. The next step for the bride is to arrange for a wedding gown.
When ordering bridal gowns, you should keep in mind that average delivery is 8 to 16 weeks, so you'll want to order as far in advance as possible for the best selection. Also remember that it's nice to have your gowns in the store and altered 1 to 2 months before your wedding so that you have less worry and fewer last-minute hassles. If you are short of time for ordering a gown, there are some gowns that come in faster than the 8-week delivery time, and most bridal shops carry a few gowns that they'll sell right out of stock so that you can take them home with you that day. Wedding gowns start at $100 and go up to thousands of dollars, but I would say the average bride pays between $250 to $500 for a gown. Bridesmaids' gowns run from $60 on up to $300, and the average bridesmaid pays between $75 to $125. Mothers' gowns are becoming more and more important, and I think that's because mothers today don't want to be just kept in the background. They range in price from $75 up to hundreds of dollars, and you want to find a mother's gown that'll look good with the rest of your wedding party. Usually when shopping for a wedding gown, you can expect to put half to a third down when you order the gown, with the balance due after the gown comes in. Because gowns are ordered to size and not custom made, alterations in most stores are extra.
Okay, we recommend that the bride and the groom register their wedding at least 2 to 3 months prior to the wedding. A registration is basically reaching a decision on the style that they want to use for their wedding and giving the store a list of the names of the people in their party. This gives their groomsmen plenty of time to come into the store and be fitted and measured. The sizes should be in about a month prior to the wedding. There are many ways that the tuxedos can be coordinated with the colors used within the bridal party. One way is with the color of the tuxedos themselves. Another way, very popular right now, is with the use of pastel ties and matching cummerbund sets. Most places will carry at least a selection of 8 or 9 of your basic pastel colors. Also, by the use of shirts, colored pastel shirts, there's a number of colors that are available in those as well. One way of reaching a decision on the tuxedos that you might want to use in your wedding party is to review the bridal magazines. Virtually every bridal magazine will show a number of the current, more popular styles of tuxedos. Tuxedo rental will run anywhere from $19.95 to as high as maybe $49, $50, depending on the style of the tuxedo, whether it's a designer label and that type of thing. Most places will offer a special discount to the groom if there are 6 or more people renting tuxedos from the store, in which case the groom's basic rental is usually free of charge. There are many designer labels that are available now. Pierre Cardin has a line of tuxedos. Yves Saint Laurent has their labels available. Bill Blass designs a number of tuxedos as well. This is a designer tuxedo by Pierre Cardin. Pierre Cardin distinguishes his styles by the use of additional satin trim along the collar, lapel, and the pockets. Bill Blass is another designer that has quite a nice selection of tuxedos available now. This particular one is the pearl-colored tuxedo. This is available in a tails, the standard cut we see here, and a cutaway as well. This is the ivory tails. This particular coat is worn by the groom when the bridal gown is an ivory, candlelight, or an off-white color. This ties in real nicely. This is the Cambridge by After 6, shown here with the vest and the matching tie, also available with a cummerbund. This is the Aston by After 6 in a gray herringbone. This is shown with a tie and matching satin cummerbund. There's also a tail coat that is of the same material that coordinates nicely for the groom. This is the Journey by Yves Saint Laurent. Shown here is with the double-breasted vest and the pearl ascot. This one coordinates nicely with the standard pearl tuxedo by Bill Blass.
Your wedding invitations should be ordered approximately 3 months before the wedding. This will give you a week to 2 weeks to get them back from the manufacturer, and you will have quite a bit of addressing to do depending upon the size of the wedding, and you will want to mail the invitations approximately 4 weeks before the event. One of the first things you are going to want to take care of when you're thinking about wedding invitations and announcements is the guest list. This should be the step that's considered shortly after you have set the budget for your wedding. A good way to think when you're trying to figure out who it is you want to invite, first of all, you're going to have your budget in mind, so you will know how many people you can seat at wherever the wedding is going to be and how many people you feel you can afford to feed if you are going to have a reception. It's smart to think of family first, and of course you're going to send invitations to your attendants. Then you might want to consider who in your neighborhood you are going to want to invite to the wedding. Then any clubs or organizations that you belong to, any close friends. It's smart to check your Christmas list, for instance. Anybody that you traditionally send Christmas cards to may very well be a candidate to attend your wedding. There are many different retail locations that will carry selections of wedding stationery in an album. The album can range from 100 to 150 pages of wedding invitation samples and all of the coordinating papers. It is traditional that you get a white invitation that folds over once with black lettering. That was the proper way to have your invitations printed. Now, of course, it's anything that suits your taste. Many brides will pick the color of blue as their theme, and there are many different shades of blue invitations with colors of blue ink. And basically, the type of invitation that you get is up to you nowadays. When it comes to the wording that you want to use on your wedding invitation, that choice is really up to you. The album that you will be looking through to pick out the wedding invitation papers will very likely have many sample wordings for you to choose from, or you can design your own wording and say whatever it is you would like to say. Wedding invitations have a broad price range. They can be anywhere from $25 to $100 for 100 invitations. The main reason for the fluctuation in the price is there are many methods of printing involved. It is socially correct to have your wedding invitations raised printed. There are 2 different methods to get the raised effect, which means when you run your fingers over the top of the printing, you can feel the bumps. There is thermography, which essentially puts wet ink on the piece of paper and then drops a fine powder on top of the wet ink, and it goes through an oven, it bakes, and it comes out of the oven raised and dry. Or there is copperplate engraving, which you take a male die and a female die, much like you would plug a socket into a wall, and you put the piece of paper in between those 2 dies, and the piece of paper gets forced down into the female die and picks up the ink and gets the raised effect. The copperplate engraving is a more expensive way of having your invitations printed, basically because you have the cost of the dies involved. You may also notice as you're looking through a wedding invitation album that the first 25 is much more expensive than the category called additional 25s. There is generally a price for 25, 50, 75, and 100 invitations, and then the next price is just for each additional 25. The first 25 may cost you $29, and the additional 25 may be $12 or $15. So an important point that I want to make with this is that it's really wise to make sure you order enough invitations when you initially place the order, because it will be less expensive for you to order 125 invitations now than to order 100 now and have to come back and pay for that initial 25 again. Engagement announcements are not engraved and mailed to people. The engagement announcement can be passed by word of mouth. It is most traditionally announced in the newspaper, and the newspaper announcement should come not closer than 6 weeks to the wedding and not further away than 1 year from the wedding, and it may be just a paragraph on the society page, or it could be accompanied by a picture. and it is not necessary to have the date of the wedding explained in the wedding announcement. If you would just like to say no date has been set yet for the wedding, that's proper. A good way to find out exactly what type of information your newspaper is going to want from you on your engagement announcement and on your wedding article is to read a copy of that newspaper and find out how your average engagement or wedding is treated in that particular paper. Then it would be wise to contact the newspaper and ask them for a form to fill out. Most of them would have one available to you where you can just fill in your name and the groom's name and any other pertinent information that the newspaper would like to include. At that point in time, the newspaper would also be happy to tell you what their deadline is for getting the photograph of the wedding to accompany the article in the paper. One of the most common questions asked by a bride once she receives delivery of her wedding invitations is, what am I supposed to do with these now? The invitations are very likely going to come flat in a box, and they will require some folding. This happens to be a blue French fold invitation. It looks at first glance like the copy is upside down on one side or the other. The invitation is first going to have to be folded in the middle, and then once again folded in the middle, and then you've got your copy on the front. In this instance, the name of the bride and groom is also on there. And as you open the invitation up, then you've got the invitation copy on the inside. The order will be delivered with tissues. The tissue is something that is pretty much now included because it is traditionally included. It was originally required to protect the ink because it very likely might not be quite dry when the order is finished. Now the ink will be dry, but the tissue is a formality that most people still honor. The tissue goes on top of the ink to protect it from any enclosure cards that you have ordered. I have a sample of a reception card here. If you do have a reception card, a respond card that you are going to enclose with the invitation, that should go face down on top of the tissue, like so. Then you would close the invitation, and you will be getting two envelopes. The inner envelope does not have a gummed flap. You will not lick it and seal it shut. The invitation goes in the first envelope. This envelope happens to have a blue liner. Blue liners are not included, or liners of any color are not necessary. This particular one has a liner. The invitation will be inserted in the inner envelope with the top copy up, with any luck, like so. Then the envelope flap will just be laid down. Once you have inserted the invitation into the inner envelope, your next question is how to address the inner envelope and the outer envelopes of your invitations. The inner envelope is properly addressed without a Christian name. If you are inviting a couple, you would invite Mr. and Mrs. Matthews. If you would like to invite that couple's children, and the children are under the legal age, you would address the invitation Mr. and Mrs. Matthews, Bo and Billy. If the children are living at home and they are over legal age, you should properly send them their own invitation and invite their parents separately. Once you have the inner envelopes addressed, you are going to want to stuff the invitation into the outer envelope, and this is the most common question of all. You have your inner envelope and your outer envelope. Turn your outer envelope upside down, lift the flap, and the inner envelope is inserted into the outer envelope with the address on top. So you slide the inner envelope in here so that when it is removed, they immediately see the inner address. You put it in there, you close the flap, and you lick it, and then you are going to want to address the front of the outer envelope. The outer envelope does properly include the Christian name, so it would read Mr. and Mrs. James Matthews, 100 Main Street, Anywhere, Minnesota, and the zip code. A very important thing to remember when you are sending your invitations is that you very much want to include a return address. You can write the return address on all of the invitations that you are sending, or you can have the return address printed where you have your wedding invitations printed. There are many enclosure cards that are optional to be included with the wedding invitation. The most important card that is most often forgotten is the response card. If you are having a catered affair, your caterer is generally going to want to know approximately 2 weeks before the wedding date how many people they are expected to feed. In order to find this out for sure, you are going to need a card that says, for instance, please respond on or before, and then there will be an M with a blank line and a number of persons with a blank line, so that person can fill the card out and mail it back to you, confirming exactly how many people you are going to need to feed. The reception card is another enclosure card that is very often included, particularly if the reception is going to occur at a place other than the wedding. Then because properly the wedding invitation is addressed to a Christian ceremony, a solemn occasion, and the reception is generally a party. So it is proper to have them on two separate sheets of paper for two separate types of occasions. The reception, if it's going to be at a hall, then you can give the address of the location. A question I commonly hear is, what is the difference between the thank you note and the thank you scroll? The thank you scroll is generally printed on a parchment paper, and it essentially is thanking your guest for attending your wedding reception. It's very often rolled up and there's a gold ring or a ribbon tied around it, and you'll find them in a basket at the cake table at the reception, for instance. Many brides assume incorrectly that this thank you scroll takes the place of a thank you for a wedding gift, which it does not. It is always essential to send a personal thank you note for any gift that you have received. That thank you note can take one of two forms. It can be a standard note that says thank you for the wedding gift on the front, and inside you can write your personal message. Or it can be an informal note, which very often is purchased at the time the wedding invitations are purchased, and it has on the front Mr. and Mrs. James Matthews, and on the inside then you can write your thank you note. This is a particularly convenient way to do your thank yous, because if you order more than you are actually going to need to use, you can also use this paper as a party invitation or a personal note paper after the wedding. The album from which you've ordered your wedding invitations is very likely going to include many of the items that will be required on your wedding day and at your reception. Some of these items include a ring bearer's pillow, toasting glasses, bridal garters, guest books, cake knives and servers, plume pens, which are going to be sitting next to the guest register. The album will also include items like napkins, which are very popular now to be personalized with the names of the bride and groom, and they're available in just about any wedding stationery color.
Things should be falling in place nicely now. Your big day is just around the corner. Are you ready for it?
The best time to select a florist is about 4 to 6 weeks prior to your wedding date. The reason for this is by that time you've got all of your bridesmaids' gowns selected, the colors that you're going to use. You're going to know who's going to be there. The florist is going to need to know how many grandparents are going to be there, how many extra guests that will need flowers, who's going to be pouring the punch, serving the cake, if those people will need flowers. So all of this you won't know until about that time, so it really doesn't pay to order too early. One of the best ways to choose a florist is to go on recommendations from your friends or possibly the family florist. It's very difficult to do comparison shopping from florist to florist, so what's usually recommended is that you choose a florist based on their personality and work. If you don't like the person that you're interviewing with, chances are you won't like their work. The style of wedding party that you've planned will affect the types of flowers that you choose. For example, if you're planning a garden wedding, you'll want less formal bouquets than an evening candlelight wedding at a cathedral. There you're going to want something in a more traditional, classic style with flowers that are considered more formal, perhaps orchids or gardenias. When planning your wedding, you can usually set your own budget, but it really helps to let the florist know about how much you intend to spend, because you can plan a wedding that will cost you no more than $30 on up to several $1,000s. There are no general rules about what is right and what is wrong as far as flowers go, with minor exceptions. All bridesmaids should carry flowers and not wear just a corsage unless it's a very informal wedding, say before a justice of the peace. There are many trends in the wedding world right now, and most of the flowers that they're showing you will be more loosely arranged, but the traditional colonials and cascades are always available. Your florist will generally show you a catalog of things to choose from so that you can select which shape and which colors are best for your party. One of the things to consider is how many flowers you want and where you want them to be. You'll need some flowers possibly for the church, but this should probably be kept at a minimum since you'll be there the shortest amount of time. Mostly you'll want something for the reception. That's your party. That's where you're going to be for the longest period of time. You may want flowers to go around the cake or to be put on top of the cake instead of the traditional bride and groom. You may want a centerpiece for the head table, or you may want centerpieces or bud vases for each guest table. Your florist is going to show you several different catalogs of bouquets for you to choose from. When looking through these books, it can be very confusing, so what I usually suggest is that you look for the shape of the bouquet that appeals to you most. You know what your style is and what you'd like your flowers to look like. The florist can change just about anything in that bouquet. He can change the types of flowers, he can change the colors. He can alter the shape of the bouquet as well, but at least you've got a place to start from. There are many types of flowers that are now available that we haven't had before. We've opened up new markets in Holland and South America, as well as the local markets in California and Denver. So you don't have to be with just carnations and roses. There are unusual flowers like alstroemeria and Peruvian lilies. You can get Gerbera daisies, which are in bright colors. So there are many, many things to choose from. However, most of these flowers are seasonal, so do check with your florist as to if they're going to be available at the time of year your wedding is. Many brides are choosing silk flowers nowadays for their weddings, and there are several good advantages to this. On hot wedding days, they don't wilt, and they're going to stand up beautifully through the whole service. Most people can't tell the difference, and you can get really unusual colors in your silks to blend and coordinate with your gowns very nicely.
Now, as a special bonus for the bride-to-be, here are some of the latest wedding gown fashions. Most of these gowns are available at fine bridal stores everywhere.
Gown number 1 is an elegant look by Barcelona in ivory taffeta. The gown has a bateau neckline complemented by Juliet sleeves. This contemporary beaded headpiece with just a poof of veiling at the back is perfect for showing off the alluring V-cut back of the gown. A lancen lace trims the train, skirt, bodice, and sleeves. The design of the lancen lace is re-embroidered to give it a three-dimensional look. Gown number 2 by Jenna is a more traditional look with a high neckline and long fitted sleeves in white satin. Back interest is added by the large satin bow topping the attached cathedral-length train, which is trimmed with a lancen lace. A hat, trimmed in matching lace, completes the ensemble. The headpiece shown with gown number 3 is a bonnet form with a poof and chapel-length veiling attached at the back. This gown is a lovely raw silk by Priscilla. The simple scooped neckline is enhanced by dainty cap sleeves. The waistline is scalloped and slightly dropped to flatter any figure. Gown number 4 is also by Priscilla. The raw silk shown is tinted a soft pink, although, like most wedding gowns, it is available in all white or ivory. This off-the-shoulder gown with short puff sleeves has a turn-of-the-century influence in the bubble effect on the skirt. The bow pattern of the lace is a theme that is repeated in raw silk on each side of the skirt and on the sleeves. The headband form headpiece is covered with silk flowers and beads. More silk flowers dangle at one side to draw attention to the face. Gowns number 5 and 6, both by Angelo, complement each other with a chantilly lace ruffle at the yoke. The blue satin bridesmaid's gown has a jewel neckline, and the white chiffonette wedding gown has a high stand-up collar and Gibson girl sleeves. Small satin bows decorate the shoulders of the wedding gown and its cathedral-length train. The 7th gown is a sophisticated white satin by Bianchi. Pearls and beading trim the scoop neckline and long fitted sleeves. More beading enhances the basque-waisted bodice and edges the skirt and train. The beaded crown, shown with cathedral-length veiling, complements the beading on the gown. Gown number 8 by Priscilla is in ivory raw silk. The beauty of this gown is in its simplicity with its natural waistline and sweep train. Raw silk pleated rosettes sprinkled with beads and sequins are shown in both the headpiece and the shoulders of the gown. Tea-lengths are becoming more and more popular today, both for the bridesmaids and the bride. Gown number 9 is a green taffeta bridesmaid by Priscilla with festive plaid bows at the shoulder, perfect for a holiday wedding. A silk charmeuse by Sposabella is gown number 10. Lega mutton sleeves are teamed with a bateau neckline and a flattering basque-cut cummerbund to give style to this contemporary-looking tea-length. The leaf motif is repeated from the neckline at the hem. A floral band with no veiling provides exactly the right touch to finish this look. Clean lines are the key to the elegance of gown number 11 by Bianchi. The beauty of the white jacquard satin fabric carries the gown. The basque waist and princess lines of the bodice are enhanced by the beaded shoulder detail. The headpiece features a poof of Russian veiling at the back, which draws the eye to the bride's glowing face. We're seeing all different lengths for wedding gowns today. You can wear a T-length for a non-traditional wedding or for a less formal wedding, a floor length or one with a sweep train, all the way out to the cathedral length train for a really formal affair. Gown number 12, a white satin by Ginza, has a gorgeous cathedral length attached train. Milano lace is used on the gown's train and skirt. Satin Venice lace trims the top of the gown, which consists of a high stand-up collar, Juliet sleeves, and a basque waist. You might choose a beaded Juliet cap to wear with this gown, as is shown here. This pink raw silk gown by Priscilla is number 13. A lancon lace and beading trim the bodice and short puff sleeves, which can be worn on or off the shoulder. This gown is a petite, proportioned for brides who are 5'4" or under. The matching headpiece, also by Priscilla, is accented with a pink raw silk bow at the back. Cathedral-length veiling adds more lace to the train of gown number 14, which is a white satin by Milady and perfect for a traditional bride with its high neckline and Gibson girl sleeves. Brussels lace is used on the sleeves' fitted cuffs and collar. The dangling beads at the headpiece echo the beading on the neckline. A large bow accents this wide brim hat of eyelet lace, which matches gown number 15. The gown is a cotton voile by Bridalure and shows its southern influence with an open neckline and short puff sleeves. In choosing a headpiece, you should consider the style of your gown, the type of wedding you're having, and your hairstyle. Find one that's flattering for you. I think a big help in choosing a headpiece is a good trained wedding consultant who can tell you what looks right with your face and your gown. This white all Chantilly lace gown has a high neckline and fitted 3/4 length sleeves. The waist, a sheer dropped waistline, is something new. Gown number 16 by Hamburger is a T-length. Once again, the sheer dropped waist makes an appearance in gown number 17, also by Hamburger. This one, in ivory with Brussels trim, has a matching wide-brimmed hat. Gown number 18, a lavender T-length by Hamburger, complements wedding gown 17 with its sheer dropped waist and bateau neckline. A beaded crown tops the look of gown number 19, an ivory raw silk by Priscilla. This gown has a high neck and long Gibson girl sleeves trimmed with a lancon lace. I think in determining whether your gown should be white or ivory, the most important consideration is what you feel looks best on you and is good for your coloring. A sparkling rhinestone and beaded headpiece for the sophisticated bride highlights gown number 20, a white silk-faced satin by Piccioni. The gown has a sweetheart neckline and layered ball gown sleeves. The dangling beads on the sleeves are a fresh accent for this gown. Gown number 21 is in white taffeta by Piccioni. An asymmetrical line of taffeta rosettes decorate the bodice, which has a natural waistline and short puff sleeves. There's a wide choice of fabrics available to brides getting married today, and they can vary anywhere from a nylon sheer for summertime to a heavy satin for wintertime. Natural fabrics like raw silks and silk taffetas are available. In picking a fabric, I think the big consideration would be price range you want to stay in. Ruffles are the theme of this look, from the brim of the hat to the sleeves and hem of the gown number 22 by Billjoy in white sheer. A tea-length bubble skirt gives gown number 23 by Sposabella its contemporary look when combined with a dropped waist. The high neckline and long fitted sleeves are trimmed with Milano lace in a feather pattern, which can be found again in this striking headpiece. The bubble skirt is shown again in bridesmaid gown number 24, a black and cerise silk taffeta by Saks. The gown is sleeveless with a high neckline. A large bow, an especially popular look today, is tied at the waist. A black beaded bag completes the fun look. Gown number 25 is a stylish white charmeuse by Yumi Katsura. Crystal pleating adds interest at the shoulders and is repeated in the skirt and train. The tiered V pattern complements the basque waistline. The gown has fitted sleeves and an open neckline. Gown number 26 by Joelle has an open neckline and short puff sleeves. The gown is covered completely in Seville lace and is tea-length. When choosing a style of wedding gown, I think the most important part is going in and trying on the actual gowns themselves. You can look in a magazine and look at the pictures, but they never look the same as when they're on you. A cathedral-length veil trimmed with satin Venice lace is worn with gown number 27 by Piccioni. This white satin gown features a stunning one-shouldered look, shown here with long white gloves. The headpiece is a wreath of satin Venice lace. Gown number 28 is the matching blue taffeta bridesmaid. A bow on one shoulder adds interest to this tea-length gown. Podange lace trims the cathedral-length train of gown number 29 by Alyssa. The gown is in an ivory silk organza with more podange lace on the bodice and leg of mutton sleeves. Beads and sequins add sparkle to the top of the gown. The blusher worn over the face with this tiara-style headpiece is a beautiful traditional wedding look. Gown number 30 by Beth Pactel in white taffeta features a V neckline and leg of mutton sleeves. The bodice is covered in silk floss chantilly lace. I wouldn't say that there's exactly a single trend in bridal wear these days. It's more one of individuality, and I think any bride can find something that she'll like that suits her style of wedding and her personality, because there are so many different designers today that they're making gowns for anyone. Gown number 31 has a detachable train in white charmeuse. The sheath-style gown is by Yumi Katsura. Bows add sleeve interest to this wedding gown. The bridesmaid in blue crepe, number 32, is one-shouldered and has an empire waistline. Tiers of chantilly lace cascade down the train of gown number 33 by Angelo. The taffeta gown has a ruffled lace yoke on the bodice and a high neckline with fitted sleeves. A small hat covered in matching lace tops off the look. Gown number 34 is in white taffeta trimmed with Alençon lace. The bateau neckline complements the Juliette sleeves. Podange lace trims the high neckline and bodice of gown number 35 by Alyssa with its many buttons up the back. The white taffeta skirt is enhanced with more podange lace and the train is made up of organza ruffles. Gown number 36 by Piccioni is in white taffeta. This gown is just the thing for a cold winter wedding, trimmed with Canadian fox fur at the cuffs and the neckline. Satin Venice lace enhances the bodice. Bridal Couture makes gown number 37 in a white silk taffeta. Alençon lace covers the bodice and accents the high neckline and elbow-length sleeves. More Alençon can be found on the tiara form headpiece. Overall, I would say that when shopping for your wedding gown, allow yourself plenty of time to try on because it should be a fun experience. It should be a memorable and exciting time to remember so that when you think back to your wedding, shopping for your wedding gown will have been a good memory, not a bad one. The sweetheart necklines on gowns number 38 and 39 tie together this bridal ensemble. The wedding gown by Bill Joy is in a white taffeta. The bridesmaid with its diagonal tucks on the bodice is in a yellow jacquard. For information on specific gowns or for questions and comments on this tape, write Wedding Information Services, 927 Nicollet Mall, Minneapolis, Minnesota, 55402.